Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are doing something, well, it feels a little illicit, a little forbidden.
That's a good word for it. It feels like we're trespassing.
Right. Usually on this show, we're parsing, public records, scientific journals, things that were meant for the light of day. But today, we are essentially breaking and entering into a life.
That is exactly what it feels like. We aren't dealing with a curated history book today. We are dealing with, for lack of a better term, a life in a box.
Yeah.
Specifically, a box of scraps found in a university office in Paris that was never meant to be seen by anyone but the people who put it there, or maybe not even seen by them again.
And we have to set the scene because the context here is absolutely everything. Our source material isn't just the box itself, it's the analysis of this box by a man named Trevor Stratton.
Right. He's our filter for all of this.
He's an American academic, a specialist in 19th century French literature who finds himself in Paris during a brutal winter, and he is not well.
No, and that's such a crucial detail. It colors everything we're about to discuss. Stratton is suffering from a high fever, the flu, while he's examining these artifacts.
So this isn't some clinical detached analysis.
Well, not at all. The narrative isn't this sterile, objective look at history.
Yeah.
It's hallucinatory. It's obsessive. At one point, he calls the box a time capsule of yearning.
I love that phrase, a time capsule of yearning. Let's talk about the object itself before we, crack it open, because it's so banal, so everyday.
It really is. It's described as a simple square box with a white plastic lid and a red crosshatch pattern. Stratton says it looks like the tablecloth in a cheap family restaurant.
Right. It's not a treasure chest.
Which is the perfect disguise for a secret, isn't it? If you want to hide a life, you don't put it in a golden chest with a lock on it. You put it in the equivalent of 1920s Tupperware.
So how does he even get this box?
It was handed to Stratton by Josie Ann, the department secretary. And she is a character in her own right. You get the sense she's the guardian of this thing.
Oh, Josiane is absolutely the gatekeeper. She's got this red hair, hazel eyes that sort of shift from green to brown. And Stratton describes her as having this electric crackle.
And this isn't the first time she's done this. It's mentioned that she's given this box to other scholars before, a Russian physicist, a Swiss historian, but the box always comes back to her. It always finds its way home.
That detail gave me chills. It's like the box is sentient. It implies the box is looking for the right interpreter, the right medium.
Exactly. And Josiane is the one who decides. She looks at Stratton's ID photo, sees what she calls a gleam of yearning, and decides he is ripe for the gift.
Ripe for the gift. Wow.
It suggests that to do this kind of microhistory, to reconstruct a life from just scraps, you need more than intellect. You need an emotional vacancy that the ghost can fill. You need to be yearning for something yourself.
So Stratton takes the box to his freezing cold office, the fever kicks in, and he begins the mission. And the mission is, he basically calls it resurrection.
It is. We are trying to reconstruct the lives of the people inside. A woman named Louise Brunet, her husband, her father, and a lover from the First World War.
But here is the tension, and it's a huge one. Stratton is a translator. The text describes him as being caught in the space between two tongues.
And anyone who works in translation knows that transfer is never safe. It's never one-to-one, meaning it gets tinted, adulterated, you lose things.
So as we dive into this, we have to keep asking ourselves, how much of this is the truth of the Brunet family, and how much is Stratton's own fever dream being projected onto them?
That's the central question. Are we seeing history, or are we seeing a hallucination of history?
Let's find out. Let's pull the first thread, the central figure of the box, Louise.
Louise Brunet, née Victor. We start with her calling card. In the 1920s, a calling card was, it was your public face, your interface with society.
And the front of hers is just so telling. It reads simply, Madame Henri Brunet.
Which is standard for the time, 100%. But it's also a complete erasure of her own identity. She is defined entirely by her husband.
She's an attachment to him.
Precisely. Legally and socially, she is Henri's wife. But, and this is the first secret, the first crack in the facade, if you flip the card over, there's a tiny little rebellion on the back.
What does it say?
In her own handwriting, she has written, Mademoiselle Victor Louise Noémie, born 13 May, 1896. And she was underlined her maiden name, Victor, twice.
That is a quiet scream, isn't it? It's her just writing it down for herself, like she's reminding herself, I existed before him. I am still here.
It immediately establishes the central conflict of her life, the public Madame Brunet versus the private Louise Victor. So we know she is 32 years old in the present of the box, which seems to be around 1928. She lives at 13 Rue Thérèse in Paris.
And the geography of her life matters so much. The details of her apartment. She's on the third floor of a narrow building with no elevator.
Right, and she hates the elevator. She calls it a cage.
Wow. That's not a subtle metaphor.
Not at all. It's a heavy one.
Yeah.
She prefers to trudge up the stairs. The text says it grounds her. It suggests a woman who feels trapped in the machinery of her life and prefers the physical struggle of the stairs because at least it feels real. At least it's a choice.
So she lives in this apartment with her husband, Rue Brunet. He's a jeweler. But the family dynamic is complicated. It's incredibly insular, almost claustrophobic.
Very. Because Henri works with Louise's father.
The father, Monsieur Victor. We need to spend some time on him because he is the anchor of this family's survival, but also its tragedy.
He really is.
Yeah.
And we have two photos of him that are separated by about 50 years, and the contrast between them is just, it's devastating.
Okay, so the first photo is what? Late 19th century?
Late 19th century. He's a kid. He's just starting his apprenticeship as a jeweler. He's got these protruding ears that he hasn't grown into yet, and what Stratton calls a forthright gaze. He looks like he owns the world.
He's the picture of ambition and hope.
He represents the optimism of the Belle Epoque. Everything is ahead of him. But then you look at the second photo, and it's dated January 26th, 1943.
So Paris is under Nazi occupation.
Deep in the occupation.
Mhm.
And he is an old man reading a newspaper. And Stratton, our feverish narrator, looks at this image and floats a very, very controversial theory. He calls it the collaborator theory.
This part was really uncomfortable to read. Stratton looks at this old man who has been through so much and speculates that he is morally flexible. But is that fair? What's the actual evidence?
Well, that's the thing. The evidence is all in the gray area. It's the ambiguity of survival. Stratton notes that Monsieur Victor never fights the occupation. He's too old, for one thing. He just continues to work.
He keeps the shop open.
He keeps the shop open. He buys meat on the black market. He even buys sheer stockings for Louise on the black market, which, and this is a fascinating detail, she refuses to wear.
So she draws a line. But the father, he just keeps going. He adapts.
Stratton describes him as a moderate. He didn't enjoy the occupation, but he didn't fight it. He's a wait-and-see type, what the French call attentisme, just keeping his head down.
But we have to look at his context. I mean, the tragedies this man has endured.
And then that's the key context. He's been a widower since 1896. His wife died giving birth to Louise. And then he lost his only son to the Spanish flu in 1918.
So he's already lost everything. Everything except Louise.
Exactly. When you have lost your wife and your son, do you risk your neck to fight the Germans in 1943? Or do you just try to keep your only remaining child fed and safe?
It's an impossible choice.
It is. And Stratton notes that Monsieur Victor spends the first month of the occupation completely drunk, just blind drunk. And that is not the behavior of a happy collaborator. That is a man mourning the death of his country. But then he sobers up and lives a quiet life.
It really forces us to ask what we would do. We all like to think we'd be heroes, we'd be in the resistance, but statistically, most of us would probably be Monsieur Victor, buying the black market meat and trying not to be noticed.
It's the banality of survival. And it contrasts so sharply with the life Louise is living in 1928 with her husband, Henri.
Henri the jeweler, the safe choice.
The safe choice. He was trained by the father. He's the chosen successor meant to take over the family business. But the marriage it's cold.
Coles is putting it mildly. The text says they've been married 9 years at this point, no children. And in 1928, for a bourgeois couple, that is a glaring absence, a huge question mark over their life.
A huge one. And the text implies that Louise suspects Henri is the problem. That he is, and this is the phrase used, shooting blanks.
But she would never say that aloud.
Never. That is an ugly thought.
Yeah.
It's not something a wife is supposed to think.
Yeah.
So instead of confronting it, we get this heartbreaking little scene of intimacy denied.
Right. She comes out of the bathroom.
She comes out of the bathroom. She's nude. She's clearly trying to initiate something, to feel something. And Henri just turns off the light.
I'm really very tired. That's what he says. It was a rough day.
It's the ultimate rejection, not because he's angry, not because there's a fight, but because he's just indifferent. He's just tired.
It paints this picture of Louise as a woman who is physically and emotionally starved, just desperate for a connection.
And nature abhors a vacuum. When the present is this empty, this cold, the past rushes in to fill it.
Which brings us to the ghost in the machine, the reason this box exists at all. Camille.
Camille Victor, her cousin, and her lover.
And this is where the entire record shifts. It goes from a quiet, sad domestic drama to a full-blown war epic. We're jumping back to 1915, World War I.
And Camille is a sergeant in the infantry. He's in the trenches, and the correspondence between them, what's left of it is just, it's electric.
It starts with a proposal, but it's so formal, so of its time.
Right, the letter's from November 23, 1915. But look at the protocol. He doesn't write to Louise to propose. He writes to my dear uncle, to her father. He asks for her hand in marriage, but with this heartbreaking condition if he returns.
Wow.
And the way he sells himself in that letter, it's just tragic. He writes, the war makes the character of man. He calls the war carnage, but he's using that carnage as a credential. It's like he's saying, I have seen hell, therefore I am worthy of your daughter.
He's trying to convert trauma into social capital, into a reason he should be allowed to have a future.
Perfectly put. But then we have the secret card. This is one of the most beautiful and painful artifacts in the entire collection. It's dated just 4 days after that formal proposal to her father. This one is for her.
Describe it for us. It's one of those embroidered postcards, right? From the soldiers.
Yes, which were common. Soldiers would send these silk-embroidered cards home. But this one has a hidden flap, a little pouch sewn into it. And Camille has taken a pen and rubbed off the standard printed text, the generic souvenir from France, and he's written Pensée de l'absent.
Thoughts of the absent.
But it's a pun. It's a double meaning. Pensée in French means thought, but it also means pansy, the flower. And the card is embroidered with pansies.
So it's a coded love letter, a secret message.
Completely. And inside this hidden flap, there's a tiny piece of paper with a poem about victory and love. It's romantic, it's delicate, it's everything the war wasn't.
Because the reality, oh man, the reality is the letter from Belgium from June 1915. This is the letter that, I think this is what Stratton's fever latched onto. It's just pure horror.
This is where the fever dream turns into a horror movie.
Yeah.
Stratton notes the handwriting first. It's written in pencil, and then it's been traced over in ink.
Why would he do that?
The implication is either panic, that he's writing so fast he can't control the pen, or a desperate need to make the words permanent before the pencil fades in the damp of the trenches. He needs someone to know this.
And what does he write about?
He writes about human butchery. He says they are forbidden to write about it in letters home, that they're censored, but he does it anyway. He needs Louise, safe in Paris, to understand the physics of what is happening to his friends.
He describes the specific ballistics. He talks about exploding bullets.
He's likely referring to soft point, or what were called dum-dum bullets, which were designed to expand on impact. He describes the entry wound as being small, like a pencil. But the exit wound, he says, is bigger than the palm of the hand.
My God.
He's trying to make it real for her. And then he describes a 220-millimeter shell landing on a section of 60 men.
And 52 are killed instantly.
Vaporized. His phrase is, the earth drank them, just gone. And amidst all this, he admits something so strange. He says he is singing in the trenches.
Singing in the middle of that.
To stop from going insane. He says the singing is a wall against the screams. It's a coping mechanism. But he's also terrified of the banal misery. Things that don't kill you but just grind you down.
Yeah.
He writes about the coming winter, the fear of frozen feet, of rheumatism. He's not just afraid of dying. He's afraid of living in that filth.
This brings us to the most visceral object in the entire box, I think. The bullet pen.
Oh, the bullet pen. This is a prime example of what's called trench art. Soldiers would make things out of the debris of war.
So what is it exactly?
It's 2 German bullet cartridges, spent casings that have been fused together butt to butt to create a pen or a pencil holder. And it's engraved. It says, Victor Camille Souvenir, 1914-1915, Campagne de l'Isère.
It's such a heavy irony. You take the instrument of death, the thing designed to pierce a human skull, and you turn it into an instrument of creation, a pen, a tool for writing.
And Stratton has a very intense physical reaction to this object. He holds it, and he can feel the cold metal, and he imagines the bullet tip against his thumb. His feverish mind starts hallucinating the ballistics, the shattering of the cranial plate, the air being sucked out of a trachea.
It's like the object is haunted.
It connects the act of writing directly to the act of killing. Every letter Camille wrote with a pen held in this object was written with a tool forged from death.
And that word again, souvenir. We think of a souvenir as a trinket, a keychain from the Eiffel Tower. But in French, souvenir just means memory.
Exactly. And there's another postcard in the box that plays on this. It's a staged photo of soldiers looking all heroic in a clean trench with a beautifully painted explosion in the background. It's captioned, Un Souvenir. A memory.
It's propaganda, basically.
It is. But the text argues that the real souvenir, the real memory, isn't that heroic photo, it's the trauma. It suggests that butchery is often what memories are made of. The bullet pen is a memory you can hold, but it's cold. It's heavy. It has weight.
And the message on the back of that postcard.
Just 1,000 kisses, Camille. A hurried signature. The ink is bleeding, like maybe a drop of rain hit it. Or a tear. You don't know.
Speaking of holding things together, this was a detail that really stuck with me. We have to talk about the puttees in the group photo.
Oh, this is a brilliant observation by Stratton. A truly incredible piece of analysis. He's looking at a group photo of Camille's unit. There's a lot going on. There's a dog named Eclat d'Obus, which means shrapnel, the darkest. The dog's mother was named Obus, or Shell. She was blown apart. So they named her puppy Shrapnel. But Stratton's eye is drawn to the soldier's legs. They are wrapped in puttees, those long strips of cloth they used before proper combat boots were standard issue.
And Stratton doesn't just see them as leg wraps. He calls it a binding ritual.
He sees it as a kind of incantation, a practical prayer. His interpretation is that it's a way to keep the meat on the bone.
Wow.
These men are psychologically disintegrating. They're watching their friends literally explode. So the mundane physical act of binding their legs tightly every single morning becomes a way to physically hold themselves together. If I wrap this tight enough, maybe I won't fall apart today.
It's a symbolic act to ward off literal dismemberment.
Exactly. It's a way of asserting control in a world of absolute chaos.
But the war doesn't just stay in the trenches. It follows them home. And this leads to what is, I think, the most supernatural and chilling moment in the entire deep dive, the haunting of 1918.
This is where the timeline completely collapses on itself. It's December 1918. The war is over. The armistice has been signed. But the killing isn't done. The Spanish flu is sweeping the world, and Louise's brother, Monsieur Victor's son, is dying from it.
He's at home, delirious with fever, and he points to the corner of the room and says to Louise, "Do you see him, the fellow in the corner?"
And Louise looks. Of course, she sees nothing. The room is empty. But the brother, in his delirium, he describes a man. He says he's wearing dark slacks, a white shirt, a blue tie. A man sitting in a chair taking notes.
That's Stratton. That's our narrator. In the year 2026, he's describing what Stratton's wearing as he reads the account.
It's a time loop, a ghost story in reverse. The dying boy in 1918 is somehow seeing the scholar who is studying him a century later, and it gets even more specific. The brother says, he is a scholar. He has your rosary in his left hand.
And we know from the inventory list of the box that Stratton is holding Louise's rosary while he's reading this account.
That's the part that just gave me goosebumps. It implies that history isn't a one-way mirror. When we stare into the past, sometimes the past stares back.
And the brother says something else, doesn't he?
He says he looks a little sad. I think he knows I'm going to die soon. It perfectly captures the impotence, the helplessness of the historian. We are gods with no power. We know the brother dies the next day. We know his father dies of a heart attack in 1943. We can see their future, but we can't change a single thing.
And the rosary is the anchor. It's the physical object that connects them across time. The rosary survives. The boy turns to dust. The scholar will turn to dust, but the wooden beads remain.
It just emphasizes the durability of objects and the fragility of people. In that scene, Louise is praying with that rosary for a miracle that she knows isn't coming. She's described as having an unbelieving heart. She's just going through the motions.
And maybe that loss of faith, that sense of futility, is what sets the stage for the woman she becomes 10 years later.
I think it has to be.
Let's jump back to that timeline then. 1928. The war is a memory. The brother is dead. Camille is, well, he's gone. We assume he survived the war, but for whatever reason, he didn't marry Louise. So she's Madame Brunet. She's safe. And she is bored out of her mind.
This is the Desperate Housewives chapter of the box. And we know this because of another tiny, seemingly insignificant artifact. The little memento calendar from Klepper Jeweler. It's a promotional item, like a freebie you'd get from your bank.
And there's almost nothing in it. Her life is a blank page.
It's a void. A calendar full of empty days. Except for two. June 19th and July 19th. She has marked both of them with a small, neat pencil X.
And that's it? Just 2 X's?
That's it. And of course, what do the X's mean? We don't know. Stratton speculates. Is it menstruation? That's the most biological, mundane answer. Is it secret meetings? That's a more romantic, exciting answer. Or maybe they're just days where she felt it. Something. Anything at all. The mystery of it highlights how empty her time really is.
And she fills that time with piano lessons. She has one student, a 15-year-old girl named Garance Sicard. And Garance is everything Louise isn't.
Garance is the modern girl.
Good.
She's the flacker. It's the late 20s, skirts are shorter, hair is bobbed, attitudes are changing. Garance is a virtuoso on the piano. She's brilliant, but more importantly, she is dangerous. She plays games with men.
The story about Hubert, the math teacher, it's incredible.
It's so cruel and so fascinating. Garance targets this famously strict, uptight teacher, and she uses her charm, wears him down, makes him obsessed with her, and the moment he finally cracks, the moment he breaks his own rules and tells her his first name, Hubert, she drops him. It's over.
Because that was the whole point.
She says, when I have their full names, I've won. It's a sport for her. Power for power's sake.
And Louise, what does she think of this? She doesn't scold her, does she?
No. She laughs until she cries. Because she's living vicariously through Garance. Louise is trapped in that third-floor apartment with the husband who is always tired. Garance is out there breaking hearts for sport. Louise is starved for that kind of agency, that kind of power.
But then Louise finds her own target, her own game to play, the illegible man.
Monsieur Langlais. He moves into the building in November 1928. Stratton calls him illegible because he's a blank slate. He's not in any of the family photos or letters. His first name isn't even on the mailbox, unlike her own, which reads M.N.M.M. Henri Brunet. He's a mystery.
But Louise watches him from her window, and she projects this massive fantasy onto him. She describes him as being Greek in perfection.
It all starts when she sees him from her window. There's a rude driver blocking the street, yelling, and Langlais gets out of his car. And he has this calm, authoritative voice. He just handles it. And that command, that authority is like an aphrodisiac for her.
Because it's everything Henri isn't.
Exactly. Unlike Henri, who is passive and tired, Langlais takes up space. He has 3 young blonde sons and a pregnant wife. He represents vitality, fertility, everything her life lacks.
And this obsession leads to the grocery list confession. This is the smoking gun of her desperation.
It really is. It's a draft of a note, a letter to him, written on the back of a grocery pad. And listen to this text. It's so raw. Can you commit adultery without any skin-on-skin contact? No, that is absurd. There must be skin.
There must be skin. I mean, that is just a primal cry for help, for touch, for something real.
She is craving physical connection. She is craving reality. And the wildest part, the most insane part of this whole story, she mails it.
To him, in the same building.
She writes it out, addresses it to Monsieur Langlais, but at her own address, 13 Rue Thérèse. She puts a stamp on it. She walks to the post office. She mails a letter to a man who lives 2 floors below her.
Why? Why do that?
She knows it will come back. The postman will see the address and deliver it. She knows his wife might get the mail first and see it. It's a game of Russian roulette. It's creating danger in a life that is suffocatingly safe.
It's reckless, but it seems like that kind of recklessness is her only hobby. Which brings us to maybe the most psychologically complex part of this, the fake confessions.
This is deep, deep psychology. Louise has a ritual. She goes to a church, but not her local parish where she's known, where she's Madame Brunet. She goes to a big, anonymous Gothic beast of a cathedral across town. And the first thing she does, she takes off her wedding ring before she goes in.
She's shedding the identity again, becoming Louise Victor or maybe someone else entirely.
And she enters the confessional not to confess her actual sins of boredom and longing, but to confess sins she hasn't committed. She invents a passionate, sordid affair. She even invents a lover named Jean-Francois.
And she based him on a random guy she saw in the metro.
Yes. There's a note about her riding the metro and noticing a man with a handsome jaw sitting in the first-class car. And there's this amazing detail where she remembers her father explaining to her as a child that the first-class car is always in the middle of the train to protect society's more valuable members in case of a crash.
So she sees this man as valuable.
And so she steals his image and turns him into her fictional lover. She goes into the booth and tells the priest these graphic, invented details. I began to come the moment he penetrated me. Things like that.
And what's the priest's reaction?
Stunned, uncomfortable silence. And the text says, Louise is on her side of the screen, suppressing laughter.
Oh, why? Why do this? What is she getting out of it?
Control and attention. In her real life, she is invisible. She's the dutiful, bored, childless wife of a jeweler. No one is paying attention to her passions. But in that dark booth, she is a sinner. She is desirable. She is dangerous. The priest is listening to her with bated breath. For those 5 minutes, she is the most interesting woman in the world.
It's better to be seen as a bad woman than to be a non-existent woman.
Precisely. It connects all the way back to the souvenir postcard from the war. The postcard was a fake, heroic image covering up the brutal reality of the trenches. The fake confession is a fake, passionate story covering up the brutal reality of her boredom.
They are both fabrications designed to make an unbearable life bearable. One hides the horror, the other hides the emptiness.
That's it, exactly.
So we have emptied the box, we have the letters, the bullet pen, the rosary, the X's on the calendar, the fake confessions. We have all these pieces. What does it all add up to?
That is the question that Stratton wrestles with in the end, isn't it? The record is pell-mell. It's disordered. There's no narrative. We don't know if Louise ever actually touched Monsieur Langlais. We don't know for sure how Camille died. We don't know why her brother saw a ghost from the future.
We are just left with these disconnected fragments, these artifacts of a life.
And Stratton, in his fever, admits that he's projecting. He says his own yearning, his own sense of being an outsider in Paris, is the glue holding these pieces together. We look at a photo of Monsieur Victor and decide if he's a collaborator based on our own 21st century morality. We look at Louise and decide if she's a tragic victim or manipulative rebel.
And the text keeps coming back to the continuity of the objects. The box survives, the rosary survives, the bullet pen is probably sitting on a collector's shelf somewhere, but the people, they just evaporate.
It is an incredibly humbling thought that bullet pen is still cool to the touch, it is still hard and real, but the terror of the man who made it, gone. The heat of the hand that held it while writing a love letter, gone. We are survived by our trash, by our scraps.
That's a terrifying thought to leave our listeners with.
Well, let's make it even more personal then. Let's bring it home. Imagine 100 years from now, it's 2126. Some academic, maybe with a fever, finds a box, or more likely, an old corrupted hard drive with your stuff on it. And not your curated stuff, not your Instagram feed where you look happy and successful, but your real stuff, the messy stuff.
My Amazon purchase history, my deleted email drafts, a grocery list.
Exactly. A receipt for a single drink you bought at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. A screenshot of a text you typed out but never had the guts to send. A calendar on your phone with a random, unexplained X on it. If they tried to reconstruct you from those digital scraps, what story would they hallucinate?
They'd get it completely wrong. I mean, absolutely fundamentally wrong.
They might see a profound tragedy where there was just a comedy of errors. They might see a collaborator where there was just someone trying to get through a bad week at work. They might see a great epic romance where there was just, a crush that went nowhere.
We're all just future puzzles waiting to be solved, or more likely, missolved.
We are all just the contents of a docs waiting for a red-headed secretary to hand us over to a stranger with a fever and a whole lot of yearning.
On that incredibly cheerful note, we are going to close the lid on the box from 13 Rue Thérèse. This has been a heavy one, but a really necessary one. Thank you for joining us on the Deep Dive.
My pleasure.
See you next time.